Students, I'm going to try something a little different. In class, you got some notes on the different explorers. And this is a great way, hopefully, it might be really bad, but this might be a good way to help you review the different explorers. You don't have to memorize the years of exploration, but you really need to know what these men did and what they did to change exploration itself. Okay, I'm going to start by calling this exploration routes. And what you're going to do is watch as I draw a route in, and I want you to try to guess who the guy is. Okay, route number 1. I think I'll use red. And this guy was one of the first explorers. He's the European generally given credit for discovering, if you want to use the word discovering, the New World. And he left the Scandinavian area. He was a Viking, and he ended up in Newfoundland. Who was this guy? I'll give you a few minutes or a few seconds to think about it. Well, the answer is Leif Erikson, and it was in the early thousands. This next guy was actually an Italian, and he never really was a sailor, but he was an explorer, and he was well over 100 years before Christopher Columbus, almost 200. But he's the guy that kind of started the traveling to the Far East to get the spices and silks and things the Europeans wanted. And of course, he traveled through China through the Middle East to get to China and India. And of course, this guy is none other than Marco Polo, remembered in pools today. A little bit of humor, very little. And this was in the 1300s. All right. Erase that. It's weird, I'm erasing with my finger. Okay. The next guy is a guy who was more of a teacher than anything else. Let me say, just get rid of this line. More of a teacher than anything else. And I'm going to move this around, make the map a little bigger. Okay, he was Portuguese, and he had a school for sailors, and he basically traveled just around Africa near the equator, went back up to Portugal, but he's opening up this idea that it's possible to go for many months away from your home country. This guy is none other than, I'll give you a chance to guess. Yes, you got it, maybe. Henry, I'll write navigator up here. And this was in the year 1419. You can't really see it that well, but you can play it back and then you can get it. All right, now, next guy. Let me erase this. Okay. Now, the next guy, 1419, we're going to go all the way to 1492, and yes, Christopher Columbus. I'm not going to draw it on here. I don't know if you remember, but he did 4 voyages to the New World, and if you want to look, and I can just make this a little bit bigger here. Whoa, look at this. This is kind of fun. Okay, make this a little bigger, or can I? Now, how did I do that? Okay, I'm back. A little bit of technical issues. Okay, Christopher Columbus. Okay, you can kind of see, I got this map from the internet. You can see a route. Let's see, right here. Let me trace it. Right in this area. You notice it says return. And again, he visited the New World 4 times. Okay, back. This next guy was from Portugal as well. I love him. I love his name, Vasco da Gama. If I ever were to have another child, I think I'd name him Vasco. I don't know, I like that name. This guy was the first European who sailed all the way around. Whoops. I'm still getting used to using this tool here. He sailed all the way around Africa. Let me finish his route to India. And so he's the guy that really opened up the whole idea of that you can get to India via the sea, not the old Marco Polo way. So he really did change things. All right, the next guy, let me just see if I can do this without shutting it off. I've been shutting it off. Let me see. Erase this, but there's an easier way. I think if I do... Nope. Okay. Okay, bye-bye for now. Okay, the next guy is one of my favorites. He sailed for England, and his real name was Italian, because this guy was Italian, but the English anglicized the name. And his Italian name was Giovanni Caboto, and he was quite the ladies' man, from what I've read. And he sailed from England, and he discovered this area right here. And I use the word discovered, you know, with a laugh, because obviously he's not the first person here. And he claimed this area for England, and this island he called Newfoundland. Ironically, he wasn't the person to find it, but he claimed that for England, and we remember him because he's the guy that started the English coming to the New World. The year was 1497. The guy, John Cabot. All right, now the next guy. Let me see if I can remember to do this without turning it off. I go click on here. Nope. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I'm back. And one thing I forgot to tell you about John Cabot. He was actually searching for something called, and we've talked about this in class, the Northwest Passage. This map doesn't really show you this that well, but the Northwest Passage is what they believed if they would sail through here. And the map doesn't have. Whoops. Well, you can see I'm still learning how to do this. But let me go back here. And the passage was up through this area, and if you look on a globe, you'll see that it is all water, but of course, as we know, it is frozen water. And so therefore, it's impossible to sail through there. It is nowadays because of global warming, but back then it wasn't. But he did discover Newfoundland, like I said, and claimed that for England. Okay, this next guy was a Spaniard, and the year was 1513, so we put it in perspective. How many years after that was Christopher Columbus? Okay, and his place where he looked the most was this area right here. And he was looking for something that never found. And does anyone know what I'm talking about? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. Okay, the guy's name is Ponce de Leon, and he was looking for the Fountain of Youth. And I'll tell you in class, I have a really funny story. One year when I taught 5th grade, I told my kids that I was with Ponce de Leon, and I drank some of the water. And I had a few kids believing me, actually, so that was an interesting year. All right, now the next guy is another Spaniard, and his name is Hernando Cortez. And he's the guy, I'm not going to show his route because he's not really remembered for exploration. He's remembered more for conquering. And what he conquered was an empire in this area. Does anyone know what that empire is? Yep, it's the Aztec Empire, and he demolished the Aztecs. His name was Hernando, last name Cortez. Okay, this next guy was a Spaniard, and so we're going to focus on Spain. And here's Spain right here, the orange. He left Spain, traveled down the tip around South America, and then over, I keep forgetting, I have to read, okay, over here, ended up getting killed in the Philippines, but his crew ended up making it back to Spain. Out of 5 ships, only 1 returned. He's the first European that was basically doing what Christopher Columbus hoped to do, and that was to circumnavigate the globe. It's one of my favorite words. Don't ask me why. Circumnavigate. Have you guessed who the guy is, or do you know? Are you using your notes? The guy is Magellan. And the years that it took him to do this are 1519 to 1522. Amazing. Okay, now the next guy, we're going to move on to somebody who is not Spanish. We're going to go to a French guy. Let me go ahead and I think I've gotten this straight now. I go to this. And you see I'm getting it. There we go. Okay, this guy went from France, and I remember him because I think of rich jewelry. And he came over this way, and he came down through here. Has anyone thought of who he is? If you said Champlain, you're not right. The guy is Jacques, and that's English. In English, that would be John or Jack, and then Cartier, not Cartier, but Cartier. And then this right here is the St. Lawrence River. Significance is he claimed this whole area for France, and that's why still today, you've got people in Quebec who speak French. A question for you on Jacques Cartier. Anybody know what his intent was? It really wasn't to go, oh, I'm going to go over there and claim a whole gob of land for France. Anybody know what his ultimate goal was? I'll give you a chance to think about it. His goal was to find that elusive Northwest Passage, which of course he never did. The next guy was looking for the elusive 7 cities of gold. It was a Spaniard, and he explored this area in here in what's present day the southwest United States. And as I said, he was Spanish. He was actually the son of a nobleman back in Spain, so he was from a wealthy family, but he wasn't the firstborn son, so he knew that in order to make his way in the world, to do something great, he'd have to strike it out on his own. So that's why he kind of got into the whole, oh, I want to be a conquistador business. He actually married a rich guy's daughter, and he got a lot of money to come over to the New World, and he was looking for what was rumored to be 7 cities of gold. Never found it. But again, he laid the groundwork for Spain to claim all of this area right here, which in the future, way into the 1800s, would affect our relationship with Mexico City. The next guy, and by the way, that was the year 1540. Now the next guy that I'm going to talk about, weirdly enough, was a Spaniard. And he actually explored this area right in here, which of course is the Ohio River. Kidding! Mississippi River. And this was in the year 1541. Anybody know the guy? His name is Hernando, and his last name is de Soto. And here's the bizarre thing. He claimed all of this land. He searched all of this land, and he was sailing and claiming things for Spain, but he never claimed the Mississippi River. He discovered it, if you want, again, using that word discover, but he never claimed it. So when he left, it was not Spanish territory. Can you imagine if he had claimed it? It could have changed the way our country became a country. Okay, the next guy is one of my favorites, and he was knighted by the Queen of England at the time, Elizabeth I, and if you look on the map, and you look at Virginia, the colony of Virginia was named after her because she was called the Virgin Queen because she was never married. And I'll talk to you in class about a story about her, and her father was King Henry VIII, and he had 3 kids, and not one of his 3 kids had children themselves. And so it changed the way England was run. England eventually united with Scotland to become the United Kingdom, but we'll talk about that in class. And anyway, he's the first European to actually circumnavigate the globe, even though we talk about Christopher Columbus doing that, and we mentioned that, yeah, he's the one. Not Christopher Columbus, I mean, what's his name? Magellan. This guy is the actual European that actually did go around the world. He actually did do it. And so he didn't really claim anything for England, but the thing he did that really ticked the Spanish off, every time he'd come to a Spanish ship, he would act like a pirate and loot them, steal the gold, really ticked the Spanish off. So they decided, and Spain was the strongest country at the time, so Spain decided that they were going to attack England. Hold on. There we go. Attack England, and so they sent an armada up to England to basically invade the country. But as luck would have it, a hurricane was coming, a very rare one to hit England, destroyed the Spanish Armada. Sir Francis Drake was there to defend England, but he never really had to do it because the hurricane took care of the Spanish fleet. And rumor has it that Queen Elizabeth was pretty, I don't know, infatuated with him, had a crush on him. No one really knows if that's true or not, but it does make a good story. Okay, the next guy. Oh, I forgot to also tell you that Sir Francis Drake, his finishing of the circumnavigating the globe is the year 1580. So that's kind of amazing when you consider how much past that was from Magellan. Again, to emphasize to you, this didn't happen all at once. Okay, now the next guy, one of my favorites. I keep saying that, but I like him because, let me show you, if I zoom in here, can't really see that well, but I grew up right there, and there's a lake here, and it's named after this explorer, and it's the border between New York and the state of Vermont. Anybody know the guy I'm talking about? Okay, the answer is, if you knew it, Samuel Champlain, and Champlain is spelled S-H-A-M-P-L-A-I-N. And Lake Champlain, of course, bears his name, and this was the year 1605, and it was for France. And again, the cool thing is that this is an area right now that is a pretty big French-speaking area, all because of his explorations and claiming that for New Spain. Now, the next guy is an easy one to remember in some ways, and in some ways not, because he sailed for 2 different countries. He was English, and I'll give you a chance to think about it from your notes if you remember. The only guy who actually sailed for 2 countries, and he's got stuff named after him. That's a pretty big giveaway. Okay, answer, Henry Hudson. In 1609, he, for the Netherlands, or for the Dutch, claimed the New York City area for the Dutch, and he named it, do you remember? Biggest city in the Netherlands today, Amsterdam. A-M-S-T-E-R-D-A-M. Oh, that's interesting. And but then the more dramatic part of his life is that the following year he sailed for the English, and I'll show you his route. And he sailed, and he was again looking for that elusive Northwest Passage. Do you know what this body of water is called? Yep, the Hudson Bay. And when he was there, his crew mutinied and left him there with his son. And he and his remains have never been found. But the crew got fed up with him, and it was freezing cold, and they just kicked him off the boat, mutinied, and left him there. And he was never seen again. So my guess is if you were to go up there and look around, you might find his bones. All right, now moving on to the next one. I think I'm finally getting the hang of this. Okay. And Henry Hudson's dates, I don't know if I did it, I keep pausing to do this and then I can't remember, it's a sign of old age. But his dates, Henry Hudson is 1609 for New Amsterdam, and this right here is 1610. Now our last explorer is French, and he is the one who explored the Mississippi River. Of course, it's about 100 years later, and it's the year, I'm going to write this in here, 1682. And look at that year. That's quite a bit after Christopher Columbus. Now I'm going to move in, okay? And of course, Mississippi River is right here. And he was French, and he claimed this whole area for France. And New France actually was basically in this area right here because of Cartier and Champlain in the north and Robert de La Salle. I just told you the answer, in the south. So this is Robert de La Salle, and here's how you spell his name. Robert de La Salle. Weirdly, Salle in French means room, so Robert of the room. Interesting. Alright, I've been attempting to save this video for a while. I'm going to try one last time. People will never see this, but I keep saying it's not saving, so I'm going to try one more little change to it. Alright, I'm going to get rid of this right here. And let's see, get rid of that. And then I'm going to take this and get rid of this. And I'm going to get rid of this. And I get rid of this, and then I'm going to insert a picture of my dog Murphy, just to see if that's going to work. Probably not, but we will see.